Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Gift and you're welcome to Gift and Couture. So in today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you the steps I use in making this beautiful dress without wasting much of our time. Let's get started. First thing first, I've already drafted this basic body, so I'm going to link the tutorial in my comment section, or either I'll put it in the comment section or on the description box. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, you're going to cut out the half length of the back, and that's what I did. And after that, you're going to pick the front and then cut it out. For the front, I'll go down by 4 inches, and from the waist I'll go ahead and connect it slantly. So after connecting it like this, we are done. Next thing is to go ahead and remove that dart. You can either leave this dart if you want to, but for this tutorial I'm going to remove it because the fabric that I'm using is kind of stretchy, and if I use the exact waist measurement, it's going to be too low. So on the side, I'll go ahead and mark 1.5 because the inch of that dart is 1.5. Alright, so from there, if you're drafting your own tutorial, you can go ahead and cross-check your measurement before cutting it out. So next thing is to go ahead and remove the dart just like this. So I'll place my ruler rather, and connect it slantly. So after that, you can do the same thing downward. That is, if you're going to use the lower part, but for this tutorial I'm not using the lower part. So next thing is to go ahead and cut it out just like this. The next thing is to go ahead and close the side darts. Now look at it, the 2 inches that I have, yours might not be up to 2 inches depending on your measurement. So next thing is to go ahead and place my tape roll to divide my shoulder into two. Like after I've already cut the neck, if you watch the pattern drafting of these bodies, you understand what I mean. So divide the shoulder into two. You're going to divide it and take it to the apex, which is your bust point, and from there, on the side of the bust, which is 2 inches, you're going to divide it by 2. Yours might be 1.5, whatever it is, whatever it might be, use 1, divide it into 2. Alright, so now next thing is to go ahead and slash the shoulder to the apex and the side to the apex. Just watch what I'm doing and you'll understand. So when you get to that point, do not cut it out. Just be careful. Go ahead and close it. You can either close it this way, or you can take this one and close it downward just like this, but make sure you don't close it from the shoulder point. All right, so for this tutorial you can go, it depends on what you want, but let's just focus on this tutorial. All right, there are so many ways to close this dart, but let's just focus on this one. So now that we are done closing with our masking tape, let's go ahead. Because of the style, from my shoulder, that's my bust point, alright, which is 10.5, to my under bust, which is 14 inches. I'll go ahead and mark it. Go ahead and mark yours. Now based on the style, alright, look at the style, how the neck is. We are going to go ahead and cut v-neck and then contour the under bust. First of all, you're going to, if you have your French cuff, you're going to place your French cuff like this, just like as if you are just the method you use in cutting your corset. Place it and cuff it like that. Now from the side to where the bust band stops, you get 4, which is my bust band measurement, and then from the shoulder downward, I want the v-neck to be like 9 inches downward. So if it depends on you, if you want your own to go down a little bit, you can do that. Let's go ahead and cut the side of the cup. Alright, you can, from this side, you can use the side of the cup to close the shoulder joining, but that's not what we are doing right now. Okay, so now to get the v-neck, I wanted to use 5 inches, but that 5 inches was too much. To be honest, 3 inches would have been better. We've actually maintained that 3 inches. Alright, because after I finished sewing, I realized that it was too wide. Please do not use this 5 inches. You can use 3 or 3.5 if you like the neckline. Now because of the style, I'll go ahead and cuff it from that under bust to meet where I want the v-neck to stop, which is 9.5. okay, so from there, I went ahead to retake my underbust. That's from my shoulder to my underbust measurement, which is 14 inches, and I marked it. So go ahead and do yours. So on the center front, there is no need for this, alright, because of that V-neck. Next thing is just for you to go ahead and cuff the cup just like that. I didn't just want to cuff it like that, so I had to go in by 1.2 to get the shape. Just if you are familiar with corsets, you understand what I'm saying. That on the line of the underbust, you are going to go in by 1.2. This works for all measurements, alright. So go ahead and mark it like that, and then connect it just like the way the shape of the design is. Alright, so I'll go ahead and connect it now. The next thing is to go ahead and cut it out right from the half length. Alright, so when you are cutting it, just be careful, and for the dart, don't worry about the dart, so go ahead and cut it out. So you can either close this dart like this, or you can cut it out. But since you've already removed this dart from the side, remember I've already minus like 1.5. For your own, just leave it and then cut it exactly the way it is. Like I said, the fabric I used was kind of stretchy, very stretchy, alright. So that's the reason I decided not to use the exact measurement. This did not affect, it didn't affect the sewing, alright. So now that I'm done cutting, next thing is to go ahead and cut the bust area. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and remove that dart so that I'll be able to close the shoulder. So now that I'm done cutting, let's go ahead and close its shoulder. So after closing the shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and reduce the neckline. Remember I said the measurement I used was kind of was going to be too wide, so I'll go ahead and reduce it. Alright, please just follow this new neckline that I'm going to cut. Okay, now remember, if you've watched the basic bodice, I used 3 inches to get the neck width, and for this tutorial I'm just going to add like 0.7, which is 3/4. Alright, so I'll go ahead and mark that 0.7 there, and then go ahead and connect it to where I marked the initial 9 inches as the neck depth. Alright, so now that I'm done, I've gone ahead to cut it out, and I've also gone ahead to close the shoulder. Next thing is I'm going to go ahead and replicate this pattern. Alright, you have to do this so that you'll be able to know how your measurement is. So let's go ahead and cut it out just like this. Now as you are cutting, you are going to cut the exact measurement on the armhole, the neckline. The only place that you are going to add some sewing allowance is the lower part, which we are going to use for the joining. Anyways, you're still going to see it. Alright, so now that I'm done cutting it out, let's go ahead and notch the dart. Remember I notched the dart, so we are going to put the dart. The first thing I did, I went ahead to notch where the dart stops, just like that, and then mark the length of the dart, and then went ahead to connect it. So go ahead and do the same thing. Remember we are going to sew the dart, and I'm still going to show you. So next thing I did was to go ahead and slash it. Now when it comes to slash and spread, it depends on how wide you want it. If you want it to be very full, you can slash it to be more. Alright, so now I went ahead to slash it. There was no specific inches. Let's just assume I used 0.7 all the way, and then after that I went ahead to spread this one. Remember this was what we used, and I've already replicated it. Go ahead and do the same thing. So just like this, I'm going to go ahead and replicate this very pattern. So next thing I did was to go ahead and label this pattern so that there won't be any mixed up. Alright, so after I was done doing that one, I went ahead to spray it on the original paper, because this is what I'm going to use to do the pleats on the bust area. So next I'll just go ahead and pin it. Please, when it comes to slash and spread, the wider the gap, alright, the more fuller the pleats or your gathers depending on your style. All right, so for this tutorial, at the end of the day, I realized that this inch, like 0.75 inch that I had it, was kind of too much. All right, so in case you want to do anything called slash and spread, just make sure you calculate your the distance, all right, like the gap. So that's just it. So after arranging it, now it's time to go ahead and cut it. From this arrangement, you can see that the shoulder is also aligned, and the next thing I did, I went ahead to add half an inch for the joining, the lower side, which I'm going to use for the joining. That's just it. Every other thing, I cut it the exact measurement. So the next thing I did was to go ahead and remove the pins. You can either use pins or you use masking tape and do it. So we are done with this. Now that's the original one, and this is the slash and spread. Next thing I did, I went ahead to label it original and slash. All right, so just to know the difference. So that's just it. So after that, next thing I did was to go to the back. You remember the back is the front, I used 3.7. So for the back, I also went ahead to extend the width of the neck and then went ahead to cut it, maintaining the same 1.5 as the neck depth. This is when I was trying to align it. So after everything, I went ahead to cut it, place my fabric and cut. For the center, I added half an inch. For the back, I added zipper allowance, and everything, every other thing is the same thing. So for this side, that's what I did. Remember, I've already added half an inch, so that's just it. So for what we are going to be using for this is the original, there's no need of slitting it out, so I went ahead to cut it. Please, when you are going to do your, make sure you iron your fabric, because when I was cutting this, there was no light, though they later brought the light. All right, so this is the original. I had it same half an inch allowance, and then every other thing. I also notched the dart. Okay, so the first thing you are going to do is to go ahead and sew the dart. Measure the length of your dart. Make sure you use the pattern paper to measure the length of that dart that you're going to sew. All right, so that's just it. After that, I went ahead to sew it. You can see how it looks like. So after that, I also went ahead to put the slash on it. The first thing I went ahead to do was to go ahead and sew the neckline. Go ahead and do the same thing as well. So when you are done sewing the neckline, we can now continue to do the pleating both on the shoulder and on the underbust level. Make sure you pin the v-neck, pin that v-line. So now after I was done, I went ahead to iron the v-neck that I've sewn. Okay, this time around there was light, and then I went ahead to do the pleating on the shoulder. Okay, just go ahead and do the same thing. Now it depends on how you want yours to be. If you want it to be more fuller, make sure you give it more gap on the pattern paper when you are slashing it. All right, so after pleating it, I've already gone ahead to do one, and this is the second one. All right, so just go ahead and do it. When you are done, make sure you iron it, press it down just like the way you're seeing on the screen. After you are done doing that, then go ahead and sew it. Please, when you are cutting the original paper, make sure you cut the exact thing. Do not add to it. The only place you are permitted to add measurement is the underbust level, like the lower part where you'll be adding the joining. All right, so now it's time. When you are done, when you get to that armhole, go ahead and brace it down with the original. Now look at it here. I've sewn the dart. I've already done that one. Next thing is to go ahead and show you what I did. Remember, the first one we did is the shoulder line. Now this is the underbust. Go ahead and do the pleating. Pleat it the way you want, but make sure the pleats should be, more of the pleat should be on where you mark, where you sew your dart. All right, so that, because that's where your bust span is. Okay, so make sure you arrange it properly. Use your pin. Just take your time and do it. That's it. Make sure you pin it down and then go ahead and sew it as well. I know it might take time when you are doing something like this, but it's worth it. Make sure you pin it then iron it. So when you are done ironing it, go ahead, if there is any excess on your own, trim it off and then continue. So I've gone ahead to brace it just like that, and look at how the neck is. So for the center and the side, I went ahead to cut it double because the fabric is stretchy. I decided to cut it and add paper stitch to it. The initial intention was to use line, but I realized that since the fabric is stretchy, there is no way it would align. So I decided to cut it. Same thing. Alright, I replicated it and that was it. So next thing is to go ahead and pin it together just like the way we added the inch. Go ahead and do the same thing as well. So when you are done, go ahead and sew it and then iron it. Please make sure you sew the inch that you added. Alright, if it's half inch that you added, make sure you sew the half inch. Is if it's 3/4, just make sure you sew what you added. So let's go ahead and sew it. So I've gone ahead to do it. I hope you've done that as well. Next thing is to go ahead and trim it off, because if I leave it like this, it will affect the boning that I'm going to be using. Alright, so after cutting it, my plan was to use this tape to sew it, like for the passing, like the loop for the passing of the boning, but I realized that it's too stretchy and it's not going to work. So since you are not going to use fabric that is stretchy, please maintain this. Cut something like this, like 1 inch or 0.7 and sew. So since I was unable to use this fabric to create the bone channel, so I went ahead to brace the two together, like both the center and the side. I brace them together. You can see both the front and the back looks the same, and I also created the bone channel where I trim off. So here I've gone ahead to fix the bone channel on the 3 lines. You can put more if you want to, and that was it. So the next thing I did, I went ahead to cut this strap, because there's this strap on that style. You go ahead and fold like 1 inch and sew it, put it in between, and then go ahead and sew it. Make sure you turn it before fixing it there. Alright, so when you are done, just go ahead and brace it before fixing the underbust. Alright, so when you are done, you are going to start sewing. Just pick your underbust where the dart is, make sure the dart faces inside, and then pin it and then sew it. Just make sure you pin it. When you get to that center front, make sure you align the v-neck with it, because that's what I did. Don't just feel like it's going to take time. Please take your time and do it. So I've gone ahead to do this one. Next thing is to go ahead and do the second one. Just like I said, you are going to use your pin. Make sure you pin it round. Alright, when you are done pinning it, go ahead and sew it. Okay, so when you are done sewing, just take your time and pin it. Okay, so when you are done sewing it, it should look like this. So because of how the fabric is, I was unable to turn it inside. So next thing, I'll go ahead, my plan was to go ahead and weave it, or either weave it or just tape it down. That's the reason I join it like that. So if you've sewn corset before, please, I beg of you, just help me turn everything inside, so it will give you a neat finishing. So for the back, I went ahead to cut facing for the back and added paper stay on it. Alright, because I don't want it to be double on the back. And then after I was done sewing, I went ahead to join the shoulder. So for the shoulder, I'm going to use the facing to turn the shoulder joining. Okay, just pick the facing and turn it like this, and then sew the half inch. And then when you are done, let's go ahead and cut the lower part. For the lower part, so for it's kind of flare, you can decide to sew it like normal what's it called, gathers, but I realized the style was flare and it will consume fabric. Just fold your fabric diagonally. If you are used to cutting flare, fold it and measure the length of your waist. For me, I didn't have much fabric, and since my waist is 28, all right, like this particular style, I reduce it. Instead of using that 28, okay, I decided to use 40. I decided to use waist 50 just because of the gathers. Okay, so I added extra inches to it, and then after that I went ahead to measure the length of the flare, and the length of the flare that I use is 27. So the thing is, when you fold your fabric diagonally, just pick your tape roll on that waist and measure the round waist. Okay, I was not able to cut this thing on the table. I would have shown you all this, but if you are familiar with how to cut a flare skirt, you know what I'm talking about. Just go ahead and cut it, and then go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so now this is the front is ready. So when you've gotten to this place, make sure you notch the center of the front. So let's go ahead and cut the back. The only difference between the back is just for the back you are going to extend it by 2 inches. Like the back, let the back be longer, the zipper side let it be longer a bit by 2 inches. That's the lower part. And for the zipper, I also added 1 inch zipper and then went ahead to cut it. Okay, so now that I'm done, next thing is to go ahead and sew gathers on it. So before that, I went ahead to slit the zipper line into 2. That's the back, all right, and then go ahead to draw gathers. So when you are done drawing the gathers, before drawing the gathers, just place your fabric. This is what I did. I placed the upper part. Remember, I went down by 4 inches. Okay, when I was cutting the pattern, I also went down on the flare by 4 inches to get the shape. All right, and then I'll go ahead and cut it slantly. So after I was done cutting it, I went ahead to draw gathers on it, but make sure you place it, align it very well. Okay, make sure you place it just like this. So that's what I did. So if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please, I'm begging you, thank you so much for watching this far. Okay, go ahead and help me to subscribe. Just support me by subscribing, like, share this video with your friends. Thank you so much, I really appreciate. Thank you. So next thing, when you are done, go ahead and draw gathers, then place this front on the center. Make sure you notch the center of the flare, then join it together. You know, you can see that it's already giving that back shape. All right, place it on the center after that, and then go ahead and sew it to the side. Go ahead and do the same thing on the back. For the back, draw gathers and then do it the same thing. So this is the front. After I was done, you can see how it looks is already giving. Okay, now that we are done, let's go ahead and draw gathers on the back. So for the back, I went down on the zipper line, I went down by 6 inches and also went ahead to draw the gathers. Please, when you're drawing your gathers, just be patient and take your time to do it. Make sure it's aligned. So after I was done, I went ahead to sew the darts. Measure your darts. For me, I have 5 inches. That's the upper part, like the back, and I went ahead to sew it. All right, so after I was done sewing, I went ahead to join it, and that's the front. So this is the back. All right, so just like this, we are done joining. You can see the gathers is not really full. So for the back, I also went ahead, because the fabric is stretchy, I decided to put 2 inches of stay. Okay, you can either use stay or paper stay when you are sewing a stretchy fabric like that. And after I was done, I also went ahead to fix the zipper. The zipper that I used was invisible zip. So next thing I did was to go ahead and measure my armhole. So it's time to cut the sleeves. All right, for the sleeve length, I use 8 inches. Because from the style you can see that the sleeve is not long, so I use 8 inches, and from there I went ahead to measure. Normally I'm supposed to use 4 to indicate the bicep, but because it has split, I had to come down to 5 inches. Like it has little pleat on the shoulder, like a little puff. So after marking that 5 inches, I went ahead to, my bicep is 14. Instead of using that 14, I use 16. Okay, and I added extra 1 inch to it for the seam allowance. So next thing I did was to go ahead and connect it like that. Okay, so just like that, my armhole is ready. Next thing I did was to go ahead and cross check it, and that was it. Instead of 8.5, I got 10 inches. That 1.5 would be for the little plate. So the same measurement I had on the bicep, I took it down to where the sleeve length stops. So, and that was it. And then I went ahead to mark it and then cut it out. So out of this length, remember I used 8 inches, I'm going to use 1 inch for the elastic, because it has half-inch elastic, and I'm still going to show you how I did it. First thing, you are going to fold that 1 inch into half, and when you are done, go ahead and pass the elastic. So after passing the elastic, go ahead and sew it like the, remember we added 1 inch, sew it and then go ahead and fix your sleeves. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you subscribe. Please, I'm begging you, support me. That's the only thing I want from you. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Okay, thank you so much for watching. So when you are done passing the elastic like this, okay, go ahead and sew the side. Remember we added 1 inch. When it comes to elastic, I can't just tell you this is the inch that you're going to put, because I don't know how you are. Just make sure you fix it. You do the one that will fit into your hand, that will not be too tight. So when you are done, go ahead and fix the sleeve. Make sure you draw the little gathers, and that's it. After I was done, I went ahead to take pictures, and this is the back. You can see how relaxed it is. This is me. All right, so thank you so much for watching. God bless you.